Hello, people. I thought I'll speak today about reintroduce or maybe bring into awareness the idea, maybe rethink on a perspective of what the idea of homeostasis is. This is a term from the field of biology in terms of anatomy and physiology mainly. The dictionary meaning is the tendency towards a relatively stable equilibrium between interdependent elements, especially as maintained by physiological processes. Now, that seems like a lot of words, has meaning in itself. Let me try and paraphrase it to bring it into a more consumable, palpable form. Now, Earth is a very fine ecobalance. Yeah, it's an ecosystem where several elements are very finely balanced. Everything is related to everything. Yeah, when something is off, when there is rampant abuse of some of the resources, you find its effect somewhere else on the planet in some other way. We see the water issue that we are facing now, climatic conditions, oceans, how they are, how different forms of life are being affected. These are all symptoms of imbalances in the ecosystem, which is now showing up in this way. Now, in terms of the human body, we also are made up of several aspects. We have the physical body, we have fluids, we have spaces. Yeah, if there is not sufficient space, if there is, then say for example, a sleep is disturbed, and then we find a lot of things are off balance. So sufficient food. We also are intellectual beings. We think intuitively. We think logically. We are emotional beings. Yeah. We are also swayed by what we know of, and we also swayed by what we don't know of. There are several things we don't know about our own self. Yeah. So there's a certain amount of mystery, and we are also consciousness operating at conscious, subconscious, and unconscious levels. We're also spiritual beings, in the sense that there is something that animates us that does not, say for example, animate a table or a chair. We don't see that. Yeah. So we're all of this at once, and we are functioning at different levels of health, depending on how well all these different aspects interact and function as one organism. It's an just like how the body is made up of several organ systems. We are an organization of several organs, several aspects, and how well is the interaction between these different aspects forms the health and how effective and efficient we can be as we move through life. Now, homeostasis is a finer, it's an aspect that hints, it's more than hints, it's part of this system of balance between these different aspects. The idea of homeostasis points to an interdisciplinary, well, you can say that, you can call it as a dynamism by which all of these different aspects juice well together. It's like a machinery that is fine, a well-oiled machinery will have a certain way that it functions. It's homeostasis because of how well it is balanced between its different aspects. It functions consequently. If the homeostasis, which is a balancer between all the different, it's like, there's a lake. Now, in a lake, you have different sides of the lake. Now, you could find one part having more stagnant water and another part having more flowing water. But if it's on an even surface, water tends to balance itself so that it's always in a state of sameness. So it's having a certain similar chemical consistency, so to speak. Body is like that. The homeostasis is like that. with whatever is there, however things are, the body tends to maintain a certain equilibrium with whatever is available. So if you're eating well, you're having sufficient rest, what you think, what you read, what you spend your time in are all good things, then the equilibrium is between all of these several good things, and consequently you have the health. Now, if you're spending your time eating, say, junk, yeah, you're just platting in front of the television and watching whatever comes through. You're reading you may or may not read at all, and if you're reading just anything and everything, or with no concern for what is actually coming into your mind, that's also food, right? What we put into our thinking, into our intellect, is also food. And not resting, doing whatever. So the homeostasis is between whatever is available in your system. So depending on what is the input, the homeostasis, the equilibrium, is between what is coming inside. Now, if there is some good things you're doing, some things which are bad, then you have that kind of a balance. So if you're going to put it on a scale of, say, 0 to 10, where 0 is, on one end you have things at what would be called as healthy, at the other end you're on a scale where you're just putting anything and everything, not so healthy. So a range between that is, if you're going to balance between the two, it would be somewhere in between. Now it's like let's say a cycle. If you're going to maintain it really well, take good care of it, well oil it, always dusted and washed, and well practice, you use it well, you could take it to the Olympics. If it's not so very well maintained, you could probably not even ride it in the local places. Yeah. So homeostasis is points to what your body is always maintaining, some equilibrium between the different aspects, whatever's coming inside. Now it's up to us on how well we balance between the different elements, so that the vehicle that we are, that the human body is, can either function at an Olympic level, or we could just be in any, just be living, what they call as willy viddy witchy, came, saw something, and one day died. Now, the idea of homeostasis, as I said, also is, I spoke about it, also in relationship with how we use what we have. We could eat indiscriminately and then go through phases of indigestion and all of that. And then when we waste things, we are wasting the money that went into making that food, or making that the time that is there. Or we could possibly do something productive, but instead, if you're just wasting something, you're losing that. And then when you're losing something in the 24 hours with the money that has been bought, which may be wasted, that has an, again, negative feedback loop into our own psychology, into our own thinking processes. In some way, we become less than who we would like ourselves to be, how we would like to see ourselves as. And that has its effect on the emotional, intellectual aspect of how we regard ourselves. So the point is, in archaic terms, it's been said that the rule of the jungle is always use discriminately, always use only as much, take only as much as you need. And when you give back, you give back with respect. You're not just throwing it around. You're not just snatching things around. So in our own physiology, maintaining that honor and respect for what comes in and what goes out is a very fine way by which you can kind of gauge the quality of what's coming in and what's moving out. So that helps to healthify homeostasis in terms of our relationship with the earth, because we are taking from what is there in the environment and we're giving back into the environment because we are part of a whole. Homeostasis in this way is also good for, honor and respect maintained is also good for the environment and for the earth. Thank you for listening.